Hi, welcome to today's episode. In the previous episodes, we talked about building your own supercomputer. What is it? How to build your own Turing Pi mini cluster. In this episode, we are going to turn it on for the first time and we're going to flash the baseboard management controller, the motherboard itself, with the latest version. So, without any ado, let's get started. I'm Garrett, and this is TimmerTech. Hi. So we're gonna flash the Turing Pi, which means we're gonna load the main board with a new firmware. Now, in order to do that, we need to access the Turing Pi. There are multiple ways of doing it. You can do it through the SD card, you can do it over SSH, you can do it through the web interface, so multiple ways. If you require another way of doing it besides the one I'm going to show you, then I recommend going to docs.turingpi.com, where you can read all the different ways of doing it. But before we can do that, we need to do a few things. We need to get the firmware, and we need, of course, to access the Turing Pi. So let's talk access first. So the first time you plug in the Turing Pi, it will announce itself on your home network as turingpi.local. Now, the problem is sometimes this does not work and you need to access it by IP number. I recommend that you set this IP number, but instead of setting a fixed IP number, it might be more convenient to do a DHCP reservation. What does that mean? Your router will issue an IP number to your Turing Pi. It will take one from the DHCP pool, just like any other device that connects to your network. However, most routers have the option of DHCP reservation. That means fixing an IP number to a certain device based on a MAC address. This way, in your home network, it will always have the same IP, but it still allows you to take the Turing Pi to another location, connect it to a network, it will get an IP, and it works. Now, I'm not going to show how to do that in your router because every router is different. There are so many variations. I recommend looking it up for your router if your router supports it, but for now, you should be able to go straight with DNS because that's the most common way of accessing it. So before we're gonna go and see and try if we can access the web page of the Turing Pi, what we're gonna do is see if we can find it. So we're gonna use a terminal for that. I'm on Mac, but if you are on Windows, I either recommend using the Windows command prompt, but preferably if you're on Windows, I highly recommend using WSL, Windows Subsystem Linux. You can go on Google, figure out how to install it, but it will give you a Linux install on your Windows in its own subsystem, and it makes it a lot easier and more portable to follow along with these tutorials. So let's get started and see if we can find it. So let's see if we can find our new Turing Pi. So it's connected to my home network. It's powered on. The nodes are still off, but it should have announced itself on my local network with turingpi.local. So let's see if we can try and ping it. And because I already set a DHCP reservation in my router, it should come back with the right IP. By the way, after you set a DHCP address using MAC reservation, then you need to reboot it. The best way is to just unplug it and plug it in again. So let's see if we can find it. Ping -C4. We're gonna send 4 packets. turingpi.local. And there it is. it has been found. Which also means we should be able to go straight to the web page. So let's see if we can log in to the Turing Pi. So using the same address, we should be able to, and there it is. It is https turingpi.local, and we just entered the login screen. Now the default login username is root and the password is Turing. So let's see if we can log into, and there we go. So welcome to the Turing Pi. Let's run through the Turing Pi web interface. This is the new web interface. This is the one that was default shipped with my 2.5 version. We got an info tab, notes, USB, firmware upgrade, flash notes, and about. And we can see it's a Turing Pi 251 board, a host name Turing Pi. We can change it, by the way. Daemon version is 232. When it was built, the build version of the software, which API version, and the UI version, which in this case is 333. Now let's go to the info tab. We have the BMC. The BMC has its own 128 gigabyte storage, and we have also the SD card I inserted in earlier episode of 256 gigabytes. Now we do have fan control, so that fan control is for that header which was shown in building the Turing Pi, where you can connect a system fan to the main board. Here we got some network interface information, and you can actually reset it. Furthermore, you have the ability to reboot it and reload the daemon straight from the interface. Now, when it comes to nodes, we have 4 nodes. They're all 4 are off. And you even have the ability to edit this, which I'm going to show later. Now, when it comes to USB, there is a USB and there is an ability to put the USB in different modes. So you can actually flash over USB by setting the USB to flash and then connecting it to a certain node, and that way you can connect the USB-C USB-C port for flashing. You can connect it to one of the nodes and start flashing it. Also, there are a lot of hover overs that will actually explain what it is. So Flash will put the USB OTG port, that's the horizontal USB-C port, next to the vertical USB 2. And you put it into flash mode, and that allows you to flash a node over USB-C. Device mode, that actually is the default, and that turns the USB OTG port off. We also have host port, and that is when you want to use the USB OTG port for peripherals like USB devices, keyboard, mouse, etc. Here we have our firmware, and we have flash node, the ability to straight up flash a node from the web interface and the about we showed earlier. But we're gonna flash the firmware first, so maybe we get some new features. Hey, if you're enjoying this video, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps the channel grow. And if you haven't already, subscribe and turn on notifications so you never miss out on future content. All right, let's get back to it. So our next step is getting our hands on the firmware. So if you go to github.com/Turing-machines, you end up with the GitHub organization of Turing Machines, the manufacturer of the Turing Pi. And we are going to go and search for the BMC firmware repository. Now, if it doesn't show at the top, as it does right now, you can actually just search for it and go to the repository of the firmware. Now, here's the thing. While making this video, there is currently a release candidate for the upcoming 2.1 version, which is actually the one I am going to install. I'm going to install release candidate 3. So that's not the full stable release, but I want to show you guys the new 2.1 release. Now, in order to find the releases, you go here to the right, you find releases, and under releases, you will find all the stable releases, the final releases. But if you go to tags, you can actually find the releases in between. So we are going to go for the Turing Pi release candidate 3. Now the problem with this one, as you can see, we are missing some files because we are looking for a .tpu file. That is a OTA file. OTA stands for over-the-air update. So where you can find it in case you need or you want to do a release candidate, you can go to actions where the software is being built, and here we can find that there is, last week there was a build of the 2.10 release candidate 3, and here at the bottom we can find it. Let's download this, and here we go. Now, in case of a normal release, there are multiple files you can download. This is the current stable 2.5. There's an image and a TPU. The image file is used when you want to flash over SD card, and the TPU is over the air release file. So yeah, let's get started. We got our file and let's upgrade the firmware. Let's go back to the Turing Pi control webpage. So we're going to use the over-the-air update, and that allows us to upgrade the firmware straight from this webpage. So we're just going to go to firmware, and as you can see, you have to upload either remote or local. You have to give it a TPU file and optional SHA-256. This one, and here we go. We got an image file for an SD card upgrade and a TPU for over-the-air update. So now we can go to the web interface and upgrade. Let's upgrade the firmware. So we're going to go back to the Turing Pi management webpage. We're going to go to firmware upgrade. Here you can give the TPU file either remote or local. Local is used when you place your file on the SD card. And you optionally can give a SHA-256 hash for integrity check of the file. This, however, was not available during for the release candidate 3. So we are gonna upload the OTA over-the-air update, the TPU for the 2.10 release candidate 3. And then the only thing you have to say is upgrade. Well, a reboot is required, so let's upgrade it by giving it a reboot. And I will see you guys back when this process has been completed. Well, after it's finished, it will simply request you to reboot it. So let's reboot it now to complete it. Now I try to refresh it and it jumps straight to login, which means it is rebooted. So let's log in again and hopefully everything went okay. So we now see that the daemon is 234. And when we go to the about, daemon 234, build time 1 week ago, API. So I'm guessing that this is the build time and this is the current version. I think there's no additional way of telling it with version 2.10, but everything looks okay. So yeah, that is how you upgrade the firmware of the Turing Pi. If you like this video and want to continue building your own supercomputer, please like and subscribe down below. See you guys around. I'm Garrett and this is Timmertech.